Shalom, family. Good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. We have some good topics to talk about. And, you know, we're going to talk about a British actor. And some of you probably saw the movies he was in. And believe it or not, I know who he is, but I have not watched any of his movies. Um, and Hollywood hates us. So they would prefer to have foreigners play our icons because they're really showing their hatred for us and they don't want to deal with us. If they could get us all out of the industry, that's what they would do in a heartbeat. In all honesty, I wish that was the next thing we would actually boycott is entertainment because especially when it comes down to movies and TV, the racism, and we're still looking at things with our actors and actresses not getting paid, but they're giving millions of dollars to white actors and actresses. So, anyway, y'all, back to this. What I think this is stemming from, y'all, is Drewski. Drewski did a skit on British actors taking over roles of Black American icons, and he did not like it. In fact, a lot of the British did not like his skit, and I think this is just a retaliatory way. But the way he did this didn't make any sense. First of all, Southerners do not sound anything like a Nigerian. And then he talk about subservience. That's just a load of nonsense. It just sounds like you sat around and made something up. And then the next time you went before the cameras, you said it. But at the end of the day, the Drewski skit was true. Many of y'all are taking over those roles because that's the way Hollywood wanted. And the problem is, just like with Cynthia Erivo, y'all don't really know the history. You don't. You're playing a historic person, but I noticed this with the Africans, the Caribbeans, all of y'all. When you come here, you don't take the time to learn the history of this place. You come, you make assumptions, and then when you decide to try to quote our history, you quote it all wrong and out of context. And then, you have no understanding and you're not trying to get the understanding. That's what makes it even worse. So sad but true. But I think that's all this is stemming from. And there's a lot of people mad at Godfrey. Um, I can't listen to him all the time. Sometimes I can listen to him and I agree, especially when he is saying something about white supremacy. But there are other instances where the Nigerian comes out of him. You know what I mean? And and those are the moments when I can't listen to him at all, you know? Um, well, let's just get into it. Before we get started, y'all, I got to tell you about the latest sale, which is going on right now on all of my stores. You can get 45% off of my products. Every time if I'm able to give discounts, I will definitely do it because I know with all the inflation, believe me, it's hitting me as well because my supplies are costing me more than when I started back in 2024. My supplies, many of them have gone up. In fact, I don't think anything has stayed the same. All of them has gone up. And I did not want to raise my prices, but it got to be a situation where it was kind of backed up in a corner and had to do it because I was paying more for, bottles and jars and things like that. So 45% off with Etsy, Shopify, TikTok Shop. And the sale already started and it will go on until June 21st. So if you need to stock up, this is the time to do it. I got some of the first orders out early this morning. So hopefully, you should get everything in the mail. I try to get everything out as quickly as I can when you place an order. All right. So let's get to it. First, we're going to hear what David Oyelowo, and I don't know if I'm saying that's right. We're going to hear what he says, and then after that, he later comes back and apologizes for what he said. And, quite naturally, a lot of our people, they are not embracing his apology at all. They're not feeling it. So I'll let you be the judge. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. I don't think you need to look for a British actor to play Dr. Martin Luther King or play, someone in Selma. Like I said, it's blatant disrespect and also a sign of Hollywood showing their disdain for us. That's all it is at the end of the day. Thank you for the ones. Thank you.
If you take the Nigerian accent like this and you slow it down, you put a lot of slavery in there.
Facts.
And then you start to put a little bit of subservience in it. This is what starts to happen to the Nigerian accent.
First of all, a Southern accent and a Nigerian accent are absolutely nothing alike. When I speak to my relatives that have a very notable Southern accent, they don't sound like a slave to me. They just sound like my relatives speaking to me, and they just have a different dialect because of the part of the country they come from. How do your voice have slavery in it? Can somebody please explain that to me? How do your voice have slavery and subservience in it? That's a behavior that has nothing to do with what you vocalized. Okay? Subservience is a behavior. It is nothing that comes out vocally from your body. So, you can tell he sat around and made this up and then dove in front of the camera to say this because he thought it was a swipe at us. That's what it is. And there's a lot of people that don't particularly care for that African accent. You know, some Africans you can listen to and you understand. There are some Africans, y'all, that I have listened to, and they are absolutely speaking in English, and I cannot understand a word they're saying because their accent is so pronounced. I can't understand it. And it's almost like I need subtitles to understand what they're saying. And they're saying it in English. So like I said, he was one of the people that was upset over the Drewski skit about Black British actors. And I really think this is what this insult is stemming from. So let's go on.
You don't even sound
it goes. This because literally, if you're down here and you start to speed it up, and then you start to take all the thing out of it, then before you know it, you're talking like this. Now we are free again. Now we are free. We are released. Hey,
bruh. At this point, going at an ignorant tether like that would be kind of pointless, because at the end of the day, he's gonna apologize like he just did. He already apologized, and they're gonna try to sweep it under the rug. Yeah, he's gonna get a little publicity for a little while, but they're gonna forget about it. Like Cynthia Erivo, she did something similar to what he did. At this point, as Black Americans, we gotta start going to the sources. We gotta go to the people who's empowering people like that ignorant fool. Jordan Peele, every time he does a movie, he's a director. Every time he does a movie, he makes sure to put a British UK actor in it over a Black American actor. Ava, she's the one who put him in Selma. She let a guy like that talks like that about Black Americans play Martin Luther King. That dude played a cowboy. We got to go to the sources. We got to go to the people who's empowering behavior like that. Ryan Coogler. I love Ryan Coogler. Sinners and everything. But damn it, every time Ryan Coogler does a film, he always puts a Black African immigrant in the film over Black Americans. At this point, if these people can't come over here and respect us and respect the culture that gave they dumbasses opportunities, they should just be cut off. And now we're going to have to start putting pressure on these directors, these casting directors, and the people that's empowering them, because at this point, yeah, we can say stuff about them because he's easy to talk about. He looks funny. But at the same time, nah, man, he shouldn't be playing no Martin Luther King. Cynthia Erivo shouldn't be playing no Black American icons. That's the problem.
David Oyelowo has come out with an apology because he said it's not how he feels. And yeah, it was the wrong thing to say. So let me read it for you. Here it is on the screen in case you haven't read it already. It reads, I want to apologize unreservedly to all those who are rightfully offended by my comments on the 154 Africa podcast regarding Southern accents. It was the wrong thing to say, and it is not how I feel. I have nothing but deep respect and great love for Black people of all kinds, especially those from the American South. Reducing a dialect born from the richness and resilience of Black Southern culture to anything less was careless and wrong. All I truly care about is lifting up my Black brothers and sisters from all places through my work and my words. Please forgive my failure to do that in this instance. He mentioned the American South.
Here's the problem I have with his apology. Here's the problem. You got all in front of the cameras when you were insulting Black Americans from the South. But when you apologize, you put some lame post up. Why didn't you get back in front of the camera? You know, you put a post up that many people probably won't even see or read. You know, it amazed me. He wanted to be all on Front Street to insult us, but he wants to put some lame ass posted apology up. And no, I don't forgive him because he knew exactly what he was doing. And, you know, no, don't try to say that wasn't you. It was you. We saw you on camera. We heard what you said. That was you. That was how you felt. That was what you wanted to say. So I don't want to hear this at all. I don't want to hear it. But let's go on.
The American South is where Black American culture was born and bred. It's the place where no matter where Black America relocates, they will always come back. It's home. The lights of the big city.
If you take the Nigerian accent like this and you slow it down, you put a lot of slavery in there.
Facts.
And then you start to put a little bit of subservience in it. This is what starts to happen to the Nigerian accent.
Man. I will never understand why some African people lack critical thinking and discernment. And in this instance, I'm talking about Nigerians. Why am I talking about Nigerians? Because David is Nigerian and Godfrey is Nigerian American. Because what do you mean you take the Nigerian accent, slow it down, add slavery and subservience, and you get the Southern African American accent? What kind of brain damage do you have to believe something like that? And then you have the nerve to issue an apology. Don't apologize for things that you believe in. You could never get me to apologize for something that I believe in. Anyway, is this your wife? Oh, okay, next.
The entire diaspora is coming together to drag David Oyelowo, and to that I say, it's my time to shine. Because when it comes to irrational celebrity beefs, he has been at the top of my list for years, except that my beef is not irrational. It's 100% USDA rational beef, baby. Let's get into it. It's 2016. I'm in the movie theater waiting to see Hidden Figures, which is a whole nother conversation, but we're not going to get into that right now. I'm sitting with a man that I don't even speak to anymore. That'll come up later. We're watching previews. David Oyelowo comes on the screen, portraying an African king who falls in love with a British woman, marries her, and she becomes the queen of an African nation. And they have to deal with all of the trials and tribulations of this white woman being the queen of an African nation. I go, ugh, I'm not gonna see that. The man next to me goes, why? I go, huh? We don't speak anymore. From that moment, I said, something ain't right about this man, David Oyelowo, that is. And then I don't know if I found out in the theater or later, he produced that film. I said, okay. I'm sure he said and done things since then that have bothered me. But then I learned that he was a producer on the Nina Simone biopic starring Zoe Saldana in blackface and a prosthetic nose. And I felt validated because I said, of course he was a producer of that. Of course. Now he's on the internet talking about to do a Southern dialect, you take a Nigerian accent, slow it down, and put subservience and slavery in it. Okay. Some of the other things he talks about in that interview was the whole like Drewski skit about British actors taking roles from Black Americans and his feelings on that. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but really it was skirting like the real issue of it all. Because what it is, white casting directors see British Black people and they go, oh, they're exotic. Because at the end of the day, African Americans are always at the bottom, even though we literally create the culture that the entire world mimics. But everybody looks down on African Americans. And I'm not trying to start no diaspora wars because I don't believe in that. But I've talked to people who are from Ghana, who are from other countries, and they say, when we come to America, first of all, we're not taught about your history in our country. And we come to America and we are taught to look down on you. So a lot of this is a lack of education. But if you're going to portray Martin Luther King, I don't know, I would expect you to do some research and learn something. And one of the biggest arguments that people make is like, oh, well, the Black British actors, they're trained better. There are plenty of Black American trained actors. How do I know? Because I am one. I didn't pay for 4 years of theater school to be told that I'm not trained, that I don't know what I'm doing. And if we really want to talk about it, to do a Southern dialects are different. They're not all the same. A Southern dialect from Virginia is going to be different from a Southern dialect from Arkansas. It's going to be different from a Southern dialect from New Orleans. But you want to talk about put some slavery and subservience in your voice to get the dialect. You're not doing the research, my boy. You're not really doing what you're supposed to do to actually embody the accent. You're just doing a general slave accent. Okay. I just think it's funny how some of these, and again, I'm not putting it on everybody because I know it's not everybody, but some of these Black British actors can just look so far down on us, yet you running to America to get these opportunities. You running to play our icons, but you have so much disrespect in the way you talk about us and our culture. And I'm not with it. And again, I'm just glad that everybody else is catching up. The diaspora is coming together to drag this man because he deserves it. And I hope he learns from it. And I hope that other Black Brits or, Black immigrants who have this mentality, I hope you learn from this. I really do.
Whoa, David O. So y'all just said to hell with calling the truce on the diaspora wars, huh? Slavery and subservience in a Southern accent? Listen to this.
How about Southerner? You know what happens to Southerners? You take the Nigerian accent like this and you slow it down. You put a lot of slavery in there. Facts. And then you start to put a little bit of subservience in it. This is what starts to happen to the Nigerian accent.
So you mean to tell me your preparation for playing the esteemed civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. in the film Selma, that you approached that method acting with slavery and subservience in mind? This is from the same man who produced Nina Simone, the film that starred Zoe Saldana, our prosthetic nose, and Mac Studio Mac Foundation in the shade NW65. It should be noted that Southern dialects vary by region. We don't all speak the same. Somebody from Atlanta won't sound like somebody from Memphis, Alabama, New Orleans. It's reductive. It ignores the complexity, resilience, cultural influence, and regional diversity of Black Southern communities. And also, it's effing wrong. Let me know what you guys think.
I don't expect any British Black person to say anything of substance about African Americans. Ever. Even more succinctly and specifically, I never expect a African British person to ever say anything of substance or intelligence when it comes to African Americans, when it comes to our accents, when it comes to our culture, when it comes to our education, when it comes to our lineage or lack of lineage, because they don't think that we have lineage and they don't think that we know about where we come from. I don't expect it. A long time ago, about a year or two ago, I did a viral video talking about Black actors, and I said, what can Black actors do? What roles are allowed for Black actors to play? Because it seems like there is a constant effort to have non-African Americans play African American figures, historical African American figures in movies, miniseries. Couple off the top of my head, Cynthia Erivo has done 2. Harriet Tubman, Aretha Franklin. We have David Oyelowo, who has played Martin Luther King. We've had Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. He played Malcolm X. It seems to be a thing. And these British Black actors, they get so much praise and they get all these awards and these accolades and all these things. But if we stop and listen to these people's podcasts, their interviews, if we go back and look at their tweets, they always show us and they tell us who they think we are, y'all. They tell us who they think that we are. And yet we still give them our roles. We still give them all of our historical Black roles. And they constantly showcase their ignorance and their low-key disdain for us. Not all of them, but also like to add that when Viola Davis did The Woman King and she did her African accent, I can't remember specifically what tribe or specifically what country in Africa, the Africans clawed at her. The Africans tore her up as if she is not an EGOT. That woman has an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and 2 Tonys. And they spoke about her as if she was some actress off the street. So what roles are we allowed to play? That's what they think of us. That's what they think of us. That's what they think of us. Specifically, Black actors, that's what they think of us. They think that they are inherently better than it. But I'm not trying to start no war. I'm not trying to start no war. I'm literally just I'm making an educated assessment, and I am reading the room, and I'm believing people when they show us who they are.
So old David decides to post an apology after Black Americans rained hell on him for the disrespect that he spewed about our people on that 154 Nonsense podcast. Please don't apologize to us. We do not need it. We like for our enemies to be front and center. Please don't apologize. Stand on it. Now, I want to ask my black people. When I say black people, I'm referring to black Americans. Y'all don't notice the pattern with these people? Now, if you read his apology, it was riddled with black this, black that, black this, black that. Because he knows and his PR team knows that that tugs at your heartstrings. I implore you to believe these immigrants when they show you who they are. I implore you. We're very good at pattern recognition. He meant what he said. Take him at face value. And this is only for my black American family that still sleep at the wheel, because way too many of us have already woken up. A lot of us woke up a long time ago. Believe these people when they tell you who they are. Please.
If you take the Nigerian accent like this and you slow it down.
The country of Nigeria did not exist. At the time Ebonics was being formed, when Africans from different parts of the continent were being brought here and learned English together under duress, Nigeria did not exist, let alone the Nigerian accent. You guys can speak in English. What the hell are you talking about? When people say they don't want Black American roles, historic Black American roles played by non-Black Americans, this is why. A historic movie is supposed to stand the test of time. You should be able to watch a movie about Malcolm X, which we do, 20, 30 years from now. Denzel Washington will always be Malcolm X. I will show my kids that movie. Why do we have to watch our legends be portrayed by people who think disparagingly about who they represent in that movie? Why do we have this slave Ebonics accent, knowing that he had to put on that role for Malcolm X? He had to change the way he sounded. Martin Luther King, excuse me. Martin Luther King did not have a British accent. He didn't have a Nigerian accent. He was the product of that slave dialect. And for you to turn around and say it is a subservient Nigerian accent, knowing you put on a role to be that for a check, obviously it's for a check because it's not because you give a damn. I don't want to hear anything else about people complaining that Black Americans need to play their own legends. It's validated right there. If anybody complains, show them that video. The proof is right there.
I'm not surprised by what David Oyelowo said, and I'm not surprised at Godfrey's reaction to what David Oyelowo said, because David Oyelowo was definitely upset. He was upset by Drewski's skit in which he makes fun of European Black folk who move through Hollywood by taking on Black American roles and all of the stuff that surrounds that. I think that David Oyelowo felt targeted because he's been in Hollywood for quite some time and he's also taken some Black American roles. So he felt like he was being insulted, so he had to punch down. Black Americans versus European Black folk are different because Black Americans are Black first. European Black folk are European first. So this person thinks himself as a superior to Black Americans and he needs to punch down. So that's why he makes that whole statement about how when he's trying to move into that quote unquote slave accent, he adds, he takes Nigerian and he adds whips and chains and he adds subservience, and then it makes the Black American like accent. And it's really disrespectful for a myriad of reasons that I don't need to explain to you. It's very obvious. It's also funny because dialectically, I think that David Oyelowo is actually really bad at American accents, especially as it relates to Black Americans, because he doesn't truly understand it. And when you don't respect something, you're not going to really care to understand it. So it's all just coming full circle. Godfrey egging it on and yucking it up doesn't surprise me because Godfrey isn't Black American. So this kind of disrespect will not be something that directly affects him. He's Nigerian. They're both Nigerian, actually. And it's not to say Nigerian people are bad people. It's to say that this is a specific instance in which it didn't seem like there was a Black American in the room. If there was, if that third person that was there was Black American, he's a very soft individual. he has a very weak spine, because the idea of someone being that disrespectful to our people, and then you just sit there and you laugh and you joke and you egg him on to do a Los Angeles Black American accent, like, all right. Which is also very ignorant, because depending on where part of Los Angeles you're from, that's going to change drastically. Someone who's from Compton is not going to sound like someone from Long Beach, and they're not going to sound like someone from South LA. Like it's just a very, very nuanced thing that you would not really know. But why would I expect people who aren't of the culture to know?
And this is what I've been thinking about all day. Drewski made a skit that hit him where he lived. He didn't like the commentary Drewski made with the skit, and he took it personal. Instead of taking that and reflecting, taking that criticism internal, doing the work, he just threw shots out broad at the whole African-American community. I don't like that. I don't like that, because you could have just done the work, reflected on what he said. But no, you could have even gone to Drewski and got his perspective on it, because not too much on Drewski either, because he's one of us. Not too much. You know what I mean? But you didn't do that. You just were like, I'm just going to make a crazy statement and then put out a half-ass Instagram apology, in my opinion. You see what I'm saying? I don't like that. I don't like it. I do not. And I don't think you respect our community at all. I don't. And that's why I don't like that Instagram apology you put up, because I'm gonna keep saying that. Use your words. Speak.
Given what's going on, is anybody surprised when I say that I have never seen Selma? I have never seen Selma, because I could never get past that man's accent. His accent was never on par. And whenever I call out the fact that Black British actors and African actors come here doing Black American accents and think they're doing a good job, but really they are not. They're not. That they do not actually take the time to learn the nuances and the difference in our accents. And this man, David, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to mispronounce it. The man who played Martin Luther King in Selma proved my point. Came right online and proved my point. Thinking that the Southern accent is just a slowed down, subservient version of the Nigerian accent. What? You throw a little slave on the Nigerian accent, and now you've got a Southern Black American accent. Huh? But when I said that they don't actually be doing a true Black American accent, that man did not sound like a Black man from the South, from Georgia. He did not sound like Martin Luther King. When I said that, people said that I was just starting diaspora wars. People said that I was just being nitpicky and that,
everything is not a diaspora war just because people respond to being disrespected. What David Oyelowo said about a Black Southern accent being a slowed down version of a Nigerian accent with some subservience to it, that shit was disrespectful. And Black Americans, specifically Black Americans from the South, have every right to name that type of verbiage is, one, not only egregious, but two, egregious for a man who actually played the role of one of our most prominent Black American leaders from the South. And it's not a diaspora war that someone has to point out the distinction being made and this almost hierarchical type of language that makes him establish some type of regalness within his own culture that he doesn't find within Black American culture, yet benefits and profits off of it. It is okay to name that. It is okay for Black Americans to say with our full chest that too many people talk out of turn when it comes to our culture without knowing our history. And it is not a diaspora war to have the expectation that people give fucking deference and respect to Black American culture if you're going to come over here to work, live, and benefit from the culture. Now, there has since been an apology, but it doesn't negate the harm. And it doesn't negate that we be minding our whole ass business and somehow a conversation about something Black Americanness ends up coming out of the mouths of people who are not Black American.
Oh, yeah. And see, they don't even understand even the ways of people in the South, these British actors. You know, I remember when I was growing up and we would be down in Georgia because both my mother and father parents lived in Georgia. And Every now and then we would go to one of my grandmother's house, friend's house, and they would have us over for dinner. And not only will Southern people feed the hell out of you, they gonna send you home with food so you can eat the meal again the next day. You know, fine, hospitable people. You know, a Southern person will give you the shirt off of their backs if they thought it was going to help you. That's one thing I used to love about being in the South around our folks back in the day. And because in the city, people were very different in the city. They weren't quite, I'm not saying they were all bad. I mean, I met nice people from the city, but I found them to be a little more selfish than the people that I met in the South. But y'all, the problem is you bring somebody over here from another country and they have no connection with the people or the location that icon comes from. Did you go in the South? Did you go around where Dr. Martin Luther King lived, where his family lived, where he was raised? I mean, or are you just coming here to make money and trying to fake up a dialect that you really don't have? I'm just saying. And a lot of people were mad at Godfrey because when he said these things, Godfrey just kind of laughed and went along with the whole thing. So that's why a lot of folks are online now saying, cancel Godfrey, cancel him. You know, this is one of those moments when you can see he's definitely not one of us. He's Nigerian. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. What I have coming up next is at 1:45, Chud the Builder had his bond revoked. Well, apparently they saw the footage of when he bounced from a restaurant without paying. And also the video shows when he got into the fight out in front of the courthouse with a brother that was out there. He pulled that gun, y'all. He pulled the gun and started shooting before the brother, I think his last name was Fox, it actually hit him. So he already drew the gun and fired off a round before he was even hit. So after they saw that, when he went to court, the judge revoked his bond. So Chud is stuck in there whether he likes it or not. I'm loving it. Let his ass stay in there. Let him rot in there as far as I'm concerned. But he ain't getting out, y'all. He ain't getting out. All that money they raised for him, he still they raised all that money for him and he can't touch that money and he can't get out. And even all those people that made donations, y'all can't get Chud out. You made all them donations and y'all still can't get him out. I love it. So I will see you then. Have a wonderful afternoon. And I'll see you at 1:45. And don't forget to pick up your hair products at a 45% discount. Shalom, family.